I am Dr. Gitanjali Bade, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Physiology, AIIMS, New Delhi. This is a module number 16, Structure and Functions of Lungs and Airways. The specific learning objectives for this lecture are: at the end of this lecture, the students should be able to describe the anatomical organization of lungs and airways, draw layers of respiratory membrane across which gas diffusion takes place, list the muscles of respiration, describe pressure, flow and volume changes taking place during respiratory cycle, define compliance and factors affecting it, list non-respiratory functions of lungs. So, what is respiration? Respiration includes two processes. One is external respiration and second is internal respiration. External respiration is the uptake of oxygen and excretion of carbon dioxide in the lungs. Internal respiration means utilization of O2 and production of CO2 by cells and the gaseous exchange between the cells and their fluid medium. Where this takes place? Lung is the organ of respiration. There are two in number, and right lung is divided into 3 lobes and left lung is divided into 2 lobes. Each lung is covered by a thin membrane which is called as pleura. It has 2 layers, visceral and parietal. The visceral layer lines the lungs, whereas the parietal layer lines the inner side of the rib cage. A potential space exists between these 2 layers and this is called as pleural space. It contains pleural fluid. The pressure which is present in this pleural space is subatmospheric, that is negative. The airways are divided into 2 zones, conducting zone and respiratory zone. Now, what is conducting zone? The trachea and first 16 generations of airways form the conducting zone, as they do not take part in exchange of gases. Trachea divides into 2 main bronchi, which further branch out into lobar bronchi, then into segmental bronchi, and this branching continues. It continues further down to terminal bronchioles. This is called as Webel's model and it is shown in figure number 1. All the structures which take part in exchange of gases are called as respiratory zone. The respiratory zone starts from terminal bronchioles and these terminal bronchioles divide into respiratory bronchioles. They open into alveolar duct and alveoli. Now, structural characteristics of conducting zone are: first 4 generations of airways contain considerable amount of cartilage in their walls. This cartilage prevents collapse of airways. Bronchioles are completely devoid of cartilage in their wall. These structures receive blood supply from bronchial circulation, that is arterial blood via bronchial artery and drain into pulmonary veins. Bronchi and bronchioles are supplied by autonomic nervous system, that is vagal, that is parasympathetic stimulation causes bronchoconstriction and sympathetic stimulation causes bronchodilation. Now, let us see about the respiratory zone. Respiratory unit consists of respiratory bronchiole, alveolar duct, atria and alveoli. They receive the blood supply from pulmonary circulation. About 300 million alveoli are present in 2 lungs and walls of alveoli contain extensive network of interconnecting capillaries. An alveolus is the functional unit of gas exchange. As they are surrounded by capillaries which remain in close contact with their walls, they form the alveolo-capillary membrane, which is also called as respiratory membrane, and across this membrane diffusion of gases takes place. Now, let us see about the layers of this respiratory membrane. The layers consist of fluid lining the alveoli containing the surfactant, alveolar epithelium, epithelial basement membrane, interstitial space between alveolar epithelium and capillary basement membrane. Next is capillary basement membrane and it is followed by capillary endothelium. The average thickness of this respiratory membrane is 0.6 micrometer, while at some places it is as less as 0.2 micrometers. Its total surface area is about 70 square meters in the normal adult human male. This is equivalent to the floor area of a 20 by 30 foot room. The total quantity of blood in the capillaries of the lungs at any given time point is 60 to 140 milliliters. Now you can imagine this small amount of blood spreads over the entire surface of a 25 by 30 feet floor. So the respiratory membrane helps in rapid exchange of gases across respiratory membrane. Volume of the respiratory system other than the alveoli and their other closely related gas exchange areas is called as anatomical dead space. Now some of the air a person breathes never reaches the gas exchange areas, but simply fills respiratory passages where gas exchange does not take place, that is conducting zone. It consists of nose, pharynx, trachea and airways up to terminal bronchioles. This air is called as dead space air because it is not useful for gas exchange. In a normal adult person, normal anatomical dead space volume is 150 ml. In some cases where some alveoli are non-functional or their blood supply is reduced or absent, they are also considered as dead space. When the alveolar dead space is included in the total measurement of dead space, this is called as physiological dead space. In normal healthy person, anatomical and physiological dead spaces are equal, but in patients having dysfunctional alveoli, physiological dead space is greater than anatomical dead space. The rate at which new air reaches respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, alveolar sacs and alveoli is called as alveolar ventilation. It can be calculated and it is calculated as tidal volume minus dead space volume. Due to anatomical dead space, out of 500 ml of tidal inspiration, only 350 ml of air reaches alveoli, which is involved in exchange of gases. Now, let us discuss about mechanics of ventilation. Mechanics of ventilation is study of physical properties of lungs, airways and chest wall involved in respiration. During tidal or quiet breathing, inspiration is the active process which occurs due to contraction of inspiratory muscles, while expiration is the passive process. It occurs due to elastic recoil of lungs and chest wall. Inspiration is an active process. So, the primary muscles of inspiration are diaphragm and external intercostals. Diaphragm is the skeletal muscle which separates abdominal cavity from thoracic cavity. When it contracts, there is flattening of its dome which pushes the abdominal contents downwards. It increases vertical diameter of thoracic cage. During quiet breathing, diaphragm descends by 1 to 2 centimeter, but during forced inspiration, it moves by about 10 to 12 centimeter. External intercostals are present obliquely between ribs in forward and downward direction. Contraction of these muscles increases transverse and anteroposterior diameter of thorax. Second to 10th rib rotate upward and outward like the movement of the handle of bucket, which is called as bucket handle effect, which increases transverse diameter of thorax. They also move the sternum in upward and outward direction, a movement which is similar to handle of water pump. It is called as pump handle effect. It increases vertical and anteroposterior diameter of thorax. Also, there are some accessory muscles of inspiration which are activated during forceful inspiration. They are scalene, anterior serrate, sternocleidomastoid and alienaceae. As the inspiration is the active process and expiration is the passive process. During inspiration, energy is stored in elastic recoil of lungs and airways. When inspiration ends, the inspiratory muscles relax, rib cage drops, which decreases intrathoracic volume. Since simultaneous elastic recoil of lungs leads to expiration, there is no primary muscles of expiration. However, during forceful expiration like coughing, some muscles come into play which are called as accessory muscles of expiration. These include abdominal muscles, internal intercostals and neck and back muscles. Abdominal muscles include internal oblique, external oblique and transverse abdominis. Contraction of these muscles increases intra-abdominal pressure and pushes the diaphragm upward, which decreases intrathoracic volume and increases intrapleural pressure. Contraction of internal intercostals pull the rib cage downwards and decreases intrathoracic volume. Expansion and contraction of thoracic cage is caused by respiratory muscles. Downward and upward movement of diaphragm to lengthen and shorten chest cavity, elevation and depression of ribs to increase and decrease anteroposterior diameter of chest cavity. Now let us discuss about some important terminologies. First one is intrapleural pressure. The pressure in the pleural space is called as intrapleural pressure. Visceral pleura is in close contact with lungs and parietal pleura with the chest wall. Lungs have tendency to recoil inward and chest wall has a tendency to recoil outward. These two equal and opposite forces cause intrapleural pressure to be negative. Thus, intrapleural pressure is negative during quiet breathing and becomes more negative during forced inspiration. Only during forced expiration it may become positive. Next terminology is alveolar pressure. The pressure of the air inside the lung alveoli is called as alveolar pressure. When the glottis is open and no air is flowing into or out of the lungs, the pressures in all parts of the respiratory tree all the way to the alveoli are equal to atmospheric pressure, that is 0 centimeter of water. To cause inward flow of air into the alveoli during inspiration, the pressure in the alveoli must fall to a value slightly below atmospheric pressure. Now, third terminology is transpulmonary pressure. The difference between the alveolar pressure and the pleural pressure is called as transpulmonary pressure. It is the pressure difference between that in the alveoli and that on the outer surfaces of the lungs. In quiet breathing, At the beginning of inspiration, intrapleural pressure is approximately minus 5 centimeter of water. During inspiration, expansion of chest causes it to become more negative, approximately minus 7.5 centimeter of water. During normal inspiration, alveolar pressure decreases to about minus 1 centimeters of water. This slight negative pressure is enough to pull 0.5 liters of air into the lungs in 2 seconds, which is time required for normal quiet inspiration. During expiration, opposite pressures occur. The alveolar pressure rises to about plus 1 centimeter of water, and this forces the 0.5 liter of inspired air out of the lungs during the next 2 to 3 seconds of expiration. Now let us see the sequence of events which take place during inspiration. Respiratory centers located at the brainstem initiate the stimuli for inspiration. Impulses carried via nerves to the inspiratory muscles. The muscles like this diaphragm and other muscles of inspiration, they contract. Chest wall expands, increases volume of the thorax. As the volume of the thorax increases, intrapleural pressure becomes more negative. Because of this negative intrapleural pressure, alveolar pressure decreases below the atmospheric pressure and alveoli inflate as air flows into them until the alveolar pressure reaches atmospheric pressure. Now, what are the sequences of events which take place during expiration? Respiratory center terminates the impulses which are carried to the inspiratory muscles. Diaphragm or other inspiratory muscles relax. Chest wall retracts and decreases volume of thorax. Intrapleural pressure becomes less negative. As the intrapleural pressure becomes less negative, alveolar pressure increases above the atmospheric pressure. Alveoli undergo elastic recoil, forcing air out of the alveoli, and alveoli deflate as the air flows out until the alveolar pressure reaches the atmospheric pressure. Now, what is the compliance of the lungs? Compliance of the lungs is the change in volume of lungs per unit change in transpulmonary pressure. The total compliance of both lungs together in the normal adult human being averages about 200 milliliters of air per centimeter of water transpulmonary pressure. That is, every time the transpulmonary pressure increases by 1 centimeter of water, the lung volume after 10 to 20 seconds will expand by 200 milliliters. In compliance diagram of the lungs, there are two curves, and each curve is recorded by changing the transpulmonary pressure in small steps and allowing the lung volume to come to a steady level between successive steps. Two curves are present in this diagram, the inspiratory compliance curve and the expiratory compliance curve. The entire diagram is called as compliance diagram of the lungs. Now, let us see what are the factors that determine the lung compliance. There are two factors, and these are elastic forces of lung tissue, that is caused by elastin and collagen fibers which are present in the lung parenchyma, and second one is the elastic forces inside walls of the alveoli. Now, surface tension of fluids that line inside the surface of alveoli contribute 2/3. What is surface tension? The forces that pull surface molecules together of a fluid at an air liquid interface is called as surface tension. When water forms a surface with air, the water molecules on the surface of the water have an especially strong attraction for each other. As a result, the water surface is always attempting to contract, which increases the tendency of alveoli to collapse. Now, what is the solution for this surface tension? Surfactant is a surface active agent in water, which means that it greatly reduces the surface tension of water. It is secreted by special surfactant secreting epithelial cells called as type 2 alveolar epithelial cells. They constitute about 10% of the surface area of the alveoli. It contains mixture of several phospholipids like dipalmitoyl phosphatidylcholine, proteins and ions. During quiet breathing, inspiration is an active process while expiration is passive. So, work is performed during inspiration and not during expiration. The work of inspiration can be divided into three fractions: compliance or elastic work, which constitutes 65% of the work. It is to expand the lungs against the lung and chest wall elastic forces. Second is tissue resistance work, which is 7% of the work, which is to overcome the viscosity of the lung and chest wall structures. And next is airway resistance work, which is 28%. To overcome airway resistance to movement of air into the lung. During normal quiet respiration, only 3 to 5% of the total energy expended by the body is required for pulmonary ventilation. However, during heavy exercise, the amount of energy required can increase as much as 50-fold, especially if the person has any degree of increased airway resistance or decreased pulmonary compliance. Non-respiratory functions of the lungs include: first is filtration. Now, nose and airways play an important function to filter out the particles suspended in inhaled air with the help of nasal hair and by turbulent precipitation. Pulmonary circulation also traps microemboli or blood clots, fat or air before it enters systemic circulation. Next is immune function. The microorganisms that enter the lungs are phagocytosed by pulmonary alveolar macrophages. IgA present in bronchial secretion provides resistance against infections. Third is metabolic function of the lungs. Endothelial cells of the capillary beds that line the alveoli have developed the capacity to metabolize various metabolic and vasoactive substances. Angiotensin 1 is activated to angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme present on the surface of the endothelial cells. Serotonin is metabolized by the endothelial cells after being internalized into the cell. Some of the substances that are synthesized and secreted by the endothelial cells include cytokines, prostaglandins, prostacyclin, nitric oxide and clotting factors. Next function is phonation. Vocal cords are involved in phonation. Lungs are also involved in maintenance of acid-base balance. The respiratory system also participates in eliminating carbon dioxide from the body and maintain the acid-base balance. Now, let us summarize the lecture. The respiratory system is physiologically divided into upper and lower respiratory tract. Upper respiratory tract is the conducting zone and lower respiratory tract is the exchange zone. And inspiration is the active process and diaphragm is the principal muscle of respiration. Expiration is passive at rest that occurs due to elastic recoil of lungs. Surfactant is secreted by type 2 alveolar epithelial cells and it decreases surface tension and prevents collapse of alveoli. The web links and additional material for reading is provided here, and thanks for the lecture.